We're going back to the 80s for number 89 on the list, BMX Bandits. Welcome to Long Play Video. Welcome into Long Play Video, where we're running through my favorite 100 movies of all time. So we'll have a bit of a chat about the film, and then we'll go away and put the DVD on, and then come back. So no spoilers in the first half, and then second half open season. And today we're watching number 89 on the list, which is BMX Bandits, which, Kev, I know you haven't seen.
Yep.
So I wanted to pass you the DVD so you can tell us a bit about the film, and you can scope it out.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Thanks for that DVD. A little bit of little bit of humor for you. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. This looks like a very interesting film to cover off now. This is good. So came out in 1983. A young Nicole Kidman, very young Nicole Kidman, directed by Brian Trenchard Smith, written by Russell Hagg, and it's only 88 minutes long. So that bodes well. So yeah, this looks really interesting. This cover looks proper 80s. I mean, if you ever were going to ask something 80s, this is definitely it. So here we go. So bikers PJ and Goose stumble across a box of stolen walkie-talkies in the mall where they find their friend Judy works. They spot a great money-making opportunity, but when the original owners, a nasty gang of unruly robbers, but the only way that could be described in the 80s. They come looking for their property. The tricky is to realize that just what deep trouble they're in. With bikes at the ready, the guards decide to make a stand and frantically try to escape the crooks and the police too, in a series of crazy stunts filled with chases guaranteed to keep you revved up from the start to the finish. Well, I tell you what, with a synopsis like that, who would not want to watch this movie? Yeah. And then some lovely little, great tagline, get ready for a wild ride. Sounds good. And the quote on the back of the DVD, the Citizen Kane of BMX movies. Which
that's high praise.
Great for. Yeah, I mean, yeah. If ever there were two things that are always going to be compared, it would be Citizen Kane and BMX bikes.
I'm sure Orson Welles is like, I should have had more BMXers in Citizen Kane.
I mean, if only. I mean, it could have been so good. And it's good to see that the special bonus features is just the trailer. That was in the back of the day when you didn't even have the special features of people being interviewed. It was just, here's the trailer. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so Andy, when did you first watch this then?
So I watched it for the first time vividly. I remember this is in 1986. There's no planes involved, but this is the very first film that I remember watching, and okay. I watched it kind of inexplicably. We watched it at school, which I guess in retrospect is a bit weird.
This is one of those scenarios where I always think, I don't know how you felt, but when I was at school, I felt like all of the teachers were like complete angels and saints, and no one ever did anything bad, and none of the teachers ever got drunk. But this reeks, watching the DVD now, I'm like, this reeks. A teacher was hungover, and I'm like, just put this on and watch this.
Well, maybe it was actually the staff party, because the entire school watched it. We were in the like main hall, and the entire school was there. There's like a projector that went through it. And because I remember I was in a school just for 1 year because we moved, and there was in the main hall basically two things happened. I watched BMX Bandits, and I did my first public speaking. So I had to do a speech in front of the whole school. Which I also really remember. My dad actually taught me how to polish my shoes like in the morning before, which I'd obviously never done as a 7-year-old. He used to polish his shoes every day before work, which is like a vivid memory of my childhood, that kind of happening. So
what did you have to talk about?
I don't know. It was I can't remember that. It was a speech.
Not BMX Bandits then.
It was my it was my 20-page essay on BMX Bandits.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember what the speech was at all, but I do remember that. Yeah, after watching it, then me and my two friends, Justine and Guy, shout out to them if they're listening. I've not spoken to them for 35 years, so it's doubtful. But basically, I just remember playing this then in the playground, like for the rest of the year. And then that was kind of it. We watched it, and then we were just pretending we were on BMX bikes and stuff. Because
and what year was this? Like, Harold?
This was 80. This was 86. So I was 7. Yeah, this is 1986.
Wow. Okay.
And I remember that one of the guys in the film is sort of cooler and is like a little bit flirty with Nicole Kidman, and I was 100% the other guy because that definitely wasn't me. So then we just played it. Yeah, we just played it in the playground for like all the time. And I mean, it has BMXs and it has walkie talkies.
Yeah. What more can you want in life at that age, right?
Yeah.
Well, obviously not Nicole Kidman, as you thought. Maybe.
I mean, it was an unknown. Yeah, it was an unknown Nicole Kidman. I don't know how old she is. She's probably playing like a 10-year-old, but she was probably like 16, as always happens in TV shows. But I think this is very early on.
It's a funny DVD cover where they've just got like I mean, this is classic 80s, and it's not really telling you anything. It's got the name of the film in massive letters, someone on a BMX, obviously, and then just a giant like close up of Nicole Kidman's face with a helmet on. I'm just like, but it's very strange, isn't it? But it's going to be interesting, this one. It's good that you could remember it back that far, and then maybe just because, as you said, you played it in the school playground for so long.
Yeah.
And then so when was the last time you watched it then? So that was let's just say a few years ago. When was the last time you got to watch it?
So you know what, I haven't watched it again. And when I was coming up with the list, there was Never Ending Story, and there was Flight of the Navigator, and I thought, shall I watch them just to sort of see whether they stand up. And I watched Flight of the Navigator, and it didn't make the list because it didn't really stand up. And I watched Never Ending Story. Maybe it's coming up in the next few weeks. And then I thought about watching this, but kind of even then I was almost a bit like, I don't need to, because this either gets on the list as the first movie I've ever seen, or it doesn't get on the list. It's almost kind of immaterial of what it's like. Because I mean, there's never a time that I remember having not seen Star Wars and the Star Wars trilogy. So obviously I watched those first, but those are so like ingrained in my DNA almost that I have no memory. This is the first film that I actually like have a physical memory of watching. But I haven't watched it since.
Well, that sounds great though. I like that, because it's almost like you're going to be coming fresh to it like I am. So this is actually like the first time when there's such a long period that you haven't seen it. So it's good that I think that you didn't watch it again. So you'll come. I'm hoping that it's not going to ruin this lovely memory that you have. I remember playing this in the school playground, and then you're going to watch it again and be like, "What on earth was that? Why is everything like this? The BMXs are wrong. They're not true to that year. What's happened?"
That shiny is definitely from 1984.
These like cheated me. All right, so
Spooky Dokies didn't come out until 1985.
Spooky Dokies.
There's a retro comment.
Wow, kids go and look that up and see what that means. So you kind of alluded to this already, but is that sort of why it's on your top 100?
It is. I just thought, the first film that you remember seeing, I kind of feel like that should be in your top 100, because again, as we've said many times, it's not so much about the movie as it is kind of the memory and the emotions that it kind of brings up. So I went back and forth on it loads because I haven't watched it for years. But at the same time, I just thought, you know what, if it's like favorite, but like important to me because obviously I remember it. So that's why I didn't want to do it a disservice and put it in the 90s. But if it's just awful, then obviously it may well be able to switch out with some of the higher ups.
Well, which is a good point. Actually, we need to cover this off at some point. I forgot. I've got. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear the audio, but I went back and I listened and found clips of Top of the Pops, and they definitely say it in the way that I say it rather than the way that you say it. So yes, I'll send you that clip, or we'll try and get it. Maybe we'll put it up as a mini episode, just a few clips of Top of the Pops,
explaining whether we mean it's going up or down in the ratings.
I like that rationale that you've said, because it and you know, we've spoken about this a lot, that films are escapism, and this is such a huge example of that, in the not just the film that you watched and you escaped, but you then as a young kid then was like, well, I've got this in my head, and you were playing it in the playground, further exacerbating that escapism. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, right? This is exactly why, you know, it should be on, I think, your top 5 favorite list.
Yeah, exactly. And especially, you know, my parents were kind of the off-brand parents, so I never had a BMX. I had a rally. I never had walkie-talkies. I had like cheap knockoffs. You know, they tried to get me GoBots instead of Transformers one year, and I kicked up such a fuss that I earned my own money and went out and bought some Transformers from one of my brother's friends, rather than rely on my parents doing it. So it was just, as 7-year-old me, it was just the epitome of cool. Like going into, and it's good to see, you know, BMX has made a comeback. You know, it's at the Olympics now. It's you know, it's one of the best events. We tried to get BMX tickets for Paris next year. We couldn't get them because it was so popular. So you know, it's good. BMX keeps going. Is it all because of this film? Maybe that's all we'll say.
I really hope there's like a little homage or a little a cue to it in the Olympics, where they actually just, before maybe they start the actual tournament for the BMX piece, they actually show the introduction or the trailer to this film.
Get Nicole Kidman out. She's in Paris every now and again. I think obviously she did Moulin Rouge. So
do you reckon she'd nip on a BMX and just go around the course once?
So the only vague memory I do have is thinking, is that always Nicole Kidman on the BMX bike? And I think there are at least a couple of times where it's just like almost sort of a 45-year-old man, and you can kind of tell that.
So everyone who's going to watch it with us, it's like the Where's Wally? Look out for the 45-year-old man.
Yeah, I do kind of. I just have thought that even 7, I was a bit like, that doesn't. That's weird. Not her, but it's a cool trick, so I don't really care. I'm just watching the bike. I'm a purist.
Exactly. So is there anything you're specifically looking forward to or not looking forward to?
I mean, watching the film again. Watching the film again, because I have no memory. It is exactly as you say. We will. This is definitely the only one on the list that we will absolutely be watching it the same. Although it'll be interesting to see if anything comes up. Like maybe there's going to be something almost like deja vu when I see it, and then I'm suddenly like, oh yeah, I remember that. So it'll be super interesting to see if I remember any scenes at all, whether there's something that I thought was something else.
Yeah, that will be good to see if it actually flashes back in memories where you think, oh wow, actually what happened there? Why you know, and then just see if it flashes back anything for you.
I thought that was part of my life. Actually, it was part of BMX Bandits.
Yeah,
I thought I ran away from this. I thought I bunny hopped over a car. Oh, what? You're telling me that it's all part of a film?
Oh my god! I think one of the things is going to be interesting. And this, I don't know if this would be something you wouldn't look forward to, but films in the 80s. I mean, obviously, I love that era, so I'm sure I'm going to like this film. But most films now you can sort of upscale them, and so you can get them up to 1080p or 4K. This, I don't think is going to be so. I imagine it's going to look so pixelated compared to everything else that we normally watch.
Yeah.
So I think that will be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah. Usually, I would say like find the biggest screen you can find and watch the big screen. But on this one, probably go quite small because it was made for a very small screen. I think that cinema screens even at the time were probably like the size of your phone now. So
yeah, crazy. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to watch this, and there's just the cinematography, because it's just 80s just have a different feel to movies than I think once you came out of that. Maybe still the early 90s, but it's going to be interesting. The soundtrack as well. I'm interested to see what soundtracks on this. Yeah.
So do we have like a 1980s bingo? Should we have like there's a saxophone on the soundtrack? A like the jump sound effect that you used to have in Knight Rider. The sort of like we should definitely make that card for later 80s movies.
We'll do that. That'll be part of the merch. We'll be like, when people listen to this podcast, we'll be like, before you listen to this one, please buy our 80s bingo card.
Leather jackets on there. The man in the tan jackets on there. It's, we can make it more than 80s.
Yeah, we can have a whole shop. We'll buy the store next door. We've got our own DVD store now, but we'll buy the shop next door, and that'll just be for our merch.
Exactly. Yeah, so, and this is actually from Australia. It's an Australian film,
which is incredible.
Had you heard of it at all? Is it still playing on the cinema? Have you walked past the cinema recently and been like, "Oh, BMX Bandits, what's that all about?"
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to the projectionist last time I was in there. No, it's not quite the cinema at the moment here. But yeah, I didn't realize it was an Australian film. But I asked my Australian friends if they'd seen it, and most of them hadn't, but one of them had, and he said, "Yeah, I remember watching that when I was younger." And as you said, remember having a young Nicole Kidman, but there wasn't a huge amount more that he remembered or that he thought was going to be good about it. So it'll be interesting for me to see if Australia's changed from what it was in the 80s today, whether the background looks different, or if I can actually spot it.
Yeah, I think it's in Sydney as well that it was filmed. So there might be some favourite haunts of yours that they revisit. This really, this could change your life. You could suddenly I think you're going to be pretending to be on BMX and be running down the street just the same as Justine, Guy, and me used to do all those years ago.
Well, there's probably plenty of nasty gangs of unruly robbers around, so I'll just have to constantly be on the lookout for them. Make sure I can get away in my BMX. Yeah,
I imagine you just having a walkie-talkie on you for some inexplicable reason. Yeah, when I think about it, I just always think Kev's probably always got one walkie-talkie on him. Just waiting.
It's an emergency, an emergency phone in case my iPhone breaks. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll the shop's a bit quiet as it tends to be this time of day. So we'll put the DVD on, and we'll come back after the break. Just while Kev goes and puts the DVD on, what do I think he will think of this film? I mean, it's the 80s, it's BMX's, it's walkie-talkies. He's going to love this film. His one-word reaction, I feel like he's going to pull in a word from the 80s. It's going to be radical or awesome. It may even be cowabunga, but we'll see. We'll see what he comes back with after the break.
Comedy caper, I think, is how I would describe this. It felt like I was watching a real live version of Scooby-Doo. It was.
I think I predicted that you would throw in an 80s reference there, like you were going to say like cowabunga or something like that. So.
There's still time. Don't worry. Yeah, it could happen. Yeah, no, it did. It is just a very light-hearted sort of film. I think as well, what actually helped me going into this film was when we discussed it in part one before we put the DVD in the shop.
Yeah.
You know, discussing it and hearing why it's on your list, and the fact that it's like sort of the first real movie you remember. It took you back to your childhood. You remember playing it in the school playground. I think that sort of almost set up like this, you know, happy base for me before I even got into the film. So I was like,
nice.
Yeah. So I think that, you know, I went in thinking, oh yeah, this is, and I think that just takes you through. I mean, obviously we'll get into the details of whether, you know, if you're going to look on the merits of whether this is actually a well choreographed and acted film.
Yeah.
There might be some debates on that, but in terms of, you know, what it is, yeah, I think it was a fun, comedy little caper, I think is how I describe it. What about you? How did you feel? What did you like about rewatching it?
So I thought it was exactly like a platform video game, like because because the start of it is basically a cutscene where they're doing all of the tricks, and then those tricks don't come up at all in any of the further movie. So it's like this is part of the game, not real game footage. And then it's basically like an 80s platform game where you're like, you have to go along one platform and the car's behind you, but then you drop down to another platform, somehow the car's still behind you. And what I loved about it is throughout the film, whether the baddies were chasing them in a car or on foot, they were still the same distance away from the people on the bikes. So either the baddies can run really fast or drive really, really slowly. So
yeah, it is funny that you're right at all times, and you can see there were some of the cutscenes when there was a bit where Nicole Kidman's just running through like the part in the boatyard, and then he runs through almost, you know, about a second after, and you can tell he's rode so much quicker than she is, and yet the next scene he's like miles behind her.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and you're right, the credits start like a video game, don't they?
Yeah.
And then, oh my God, I mean, I'm sure we'll get onto it, but the sound effects when they do
the tricks. It's so brilliant. At one point, I actually turned off the sound, and they're just basically like riding their bike, and it's really boring. But then you turn on the sound again, and it's like, pew, pew, I was just like, that just makes it. That's just amazing.
I don't know how you kept it in and didn't mention that in part one. I was like, how have you kept that to yourself? And not,
I didn't remember. Didn't even remember that. But like,
really,
it is the perfect game. I can imagine little Andy and Justine and Guy doing that in the playground. Like that's probably what actually made it so fun to play, was the sound effects and running around just using them.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're right. That would add to it, wouldn't it? And I think that's really where it you know, I think there's definitely a genre for it now. And I was thinking about, like, is it sort of, I haven't really seen Spy Kids, but I was thinking it feels a bit like that. It's that real life, like non-animation is what I'm sort of thinking, movie for kids. And I think there is definitely a spot for that sort of thing now. I mean, maybe it was slightly better quality, but yeah, it was, those sound effects were absolutely fantastic. And the fact that they all each have their own sort of color coding. So the one that has the red bike wears red. The one that has the blue bike wears blue. And even when the new people come in, like Nicole Kidman comes in, and when the other kid that has got all the money comes in, he's got a green bike and he wears green. And it's just it was great.
I was always the blue one. That's why I remembered vividly as it started and they were riding down and doing the tricks. I was like, oh, I was always the blue one. And I think I had a blue coat, and maybe that was the reason why.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, we can discuss whether it's better to be Goose or PJ. I'm not sure. I'm not sure it stands up in comparison, but no, it's just so much fun. But also, I think, you know, as far as classic movie references, all of the time when they're talking about horror movies that they once saw, basically Tarantino basically uses that in Pulp Fiction and in most of his films. Obviously the robbery, basically Dark Knight, Christopher Nolan basically just steals the entire scene, doesn't he, from this?
I think so, yeah. He's just, and that was such a weird scene as well. Like, there's no reason for them to drive the van in the window. They could easily have parked out front and just got in.
Yeah, and then basically this starts the Australian invasion with Crocodile Dundee and all of the others. So is this actually not just the Citizen Kane of BMX movies? Maybe it's just the Citizen Kane of all movies. Maybe it just influences everything.
Yeah. Well, even as well, I thought they must have been, because when like I said, everyone had their matching bike in coloured coordinated clothes.
Yeah.
I was like, hold on a minute, this now feels like Power Rangers on bikes.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
And I was like, surely Power Rangers must have stolen some things from it as well. Like, even in the graveyard, when you've got the two goons that are chasing them, they wear masks, which are almost like sort of alien masks. I was like, this is exactly what the aliens would look like in Power Rangers.
that is actually what they look like in Power Rangers, isn't it? That's brilliant.
So there you are. There were so many things that we've got to be grateful of thanks to this movie. And obviously an illustrious career from Nicole Kidman as well. But yeah, that's a sidebar really.
Well, I mean, Nicole Kidman obviously up there. John Seal, the director of photography, which in reality, all of the camera shots from down on the wheels and stuff of the car and from the bikes. Let me just talk you through. So he's director of photography. Let me just run you through a couple of his other credits. Stakeout.
Okay.
Stakeout. Yeah.
Indifferent. Yeah.
Gorillas in the Mist. Oh, all right.
Yeah.
And now,
not bad.
And now here we go. Rain Man, Dead Poets Society, The Firm,
The
English Patient. He wins the Oscar for City of Angels, Talented Mr. Ripley, Harry Potter, Cold Mountain, Spanglish. Maybe a little bit of a downer. The Tourist, and finishes up in Mad Max Fury Road. So he's
come full circle back to Australia.
Back to Australia. Arguably a better career than Nicole. I mean, that is very good cinematography.
Yeah, they are some very good credits. I mean, I'm sure we'll get onto the fact that, as we mentioned in the first part, there are a lot of scenes where they're doing the stunts, and it's very, very clear that it is not the kid. I mean, like you said, there's the piece when Nicole Kidman's doing the stunts, and it's
show us what you've got. Show us what you've got. That's what they're saying.
Oh my god! Yeah, and you can see that the person that's doing the stunts is clearly not the same height or shape as her at all. So even from a distance, you're like, clearly this isn't Nicole Kidman. But then they just don't even care. They do is it just that kids don't pay attention? But they'll have almost zoomed in shots of her face, and it's like, oh, I can actually see the face of the guy who's the stunt double.
Yeah.
And they do that for all of the kids. I saw all of the stunt doubles. So look, maybe that's good. They get a little bit of their 5 minutes of fame. But
but you can tell it's supposed to be Nicole Kidman because it's a yellow BMX bike, and she's the yellow BMX bike. So
yeah, exactly. That's what helped it. Yeah, it was that was very, very bad. But that was the only thing really I had down that was something that I did like. Is not that it was awful. It was just and maybe it was a little bit too long. It lags a little bit, I think, in the middle.
Yeah, but, it's a long chase, isn't it? As that middle chase it's a long old chase. But you get the water park side, which is just so. I mean, first of all, the bad guy seems to have not even be able to cope with the concept of what a water slide is. He's like, what? And you're like, just sit there. You're going down. Like, it's not difficult to understand what's going to happen. But they take their bikes down a water slide. I think that must have been like, that just is epic. That just combines. If walkie talkies and BMXs weren't enough, they then throw in a water slide.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, there were so many. I'm sure we'll get onto the reviews and things, but I looked at some of them, and everyone just says, "Well, taking your bike down a water slide. What more do you want?" And that should have been the tagline of the film, I think.
I mean, the only thing that I think I have to mention is the ending and the two kind of endings. First of all, the plan is to take on the robbers who have guns with flour. It's very lucky that Nicole Kidman steals the keys. Otherwise, it's a bloodbath. Yeah, and they just start shooting kids, and it's a whole different film. And
well, that's
then,
the thing, isn't it? You're right, because at the start of the film, when they do the bank robbery, it's almost like they're partially insane. Like they're shooting guns in the air. The boss comes back and he just randomly shoots a cardboard box for no reason. And then all of a sudden, when they're chasing kids, they don't really have the guns for anything anymore. I was like, what was going on here?
yeah. And then the last ending with the foam and like
the comedy caper.
The comedy caper. And then they go straight to the track. And it's just like, oh, now there's a BMX track. And then it just seems like they kind of got a bit bored, and they were like, "How do we end this? Let's just not. Let's just go into a BMX race."
Yeah, and it was a bit funny, wasn't it? Because they sort of like that's where it came back for me in the sort of Scooby Doo scenario.
Yeah,
you pesky kids, you know, we have to give them something to do to stop them trying to solve crime in Australia. Yeah, it was funny. There was one thing I did notice that makes this very different, even for an 80s film. I was watching it and I was getting to the end and I was thinking, oh, this must be right near the end. And then I looked at the time and they're finishing off the last scene, the chase, and there was only about 8 minutes left. And I was thinking, how is this possible? And then it keeps going and it was like, there's only 5 minutes left. I was like, what is happening? And then I think there was only 2 minutes of credits, of which, as you said, they have the BMX track. So I was like, "Whoa, God!" I don't remember that even happening in. Maybe it did just happen in the 80s, where the credits were so condensed. I mean, even if you watch a Star Wars episode on TV series now, like The Mandalorian, their credits is about 9 minutes. Yeah. So I'm like, this full film has got less credits. I thought that was amazing. I was like, wow, this film wraps up super quick. Like it was still going right to the very end.
Yeah, I mean, there's like 8 different actors. The director of photography, the director of sound. That was it.
Yeah,
three stuntmen.
Yeah, it was true. Yeah, exactly. Which we saw all of them, so that was good.
Yeah.
So, was there anything else that you noticed more this time versus when you first watched it? Obviously, those few years ago,
that I have no memory of whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, I dimly recalled everything barring the graveyard scene. I feel like that may have been edited out because I'd sort of everything I'm a bit that's familiar. The graveyard scene, I was just like, what is this? What is this doing in this film? This is just bizarre. So I think that might have been edited out in the version that we saw at school, or they showed us it and then like what? I mean, it was the 80s, but showing that part of the film to a bunch of people in junior school, I'm not sure. And then the other thing that so when they have sold the walkie-talkies and they've got their bikes, they are then wearing T-shirts that say BMX Bandits on.
Yeah,
they're wearing merchandise from the film in the film because there's no other reference to BMX Bandits. I was just like, is this like a meta commentary on the way that Star Wars has commercialized film? Maybe I don't know. Again,
I love that. I love that they all just come out and you're like, wow, this is. As I said, that's when like the Power Rangers really got their powers. But they've now got their BMX Bandit T-shirts. It's time for the stunt doubles to earn their money. So
I would say as well, I had to check the ages of the main 3 people. So Nicole Kidman, obviously all playing 16-year-olds. Nicole Kidman, 19.
Yeah.
Okay, 19 playing a 16-year-old. Kind of.
Yeah.
Goose, 21. 21 playing a 16-year-old. Maybe.
Yeah.
PJ, 31. PJ was 31 years old when he filmed this film.
Wow. I'll tell you what, he must still be looking good. He's looking reasonable. Not necessarily 16, but he's not looking too bad. Well, blimey, wow, God, wow, that's incredible.
What I would also really recommend to all of the listeners is to go to the IMDb page and look up these the actors from the BMX Bandits page, because the pictures for them are basically stills from BMX Bandits that are of Nicole Kidman they're not even in their pictures on IMDb.
Oh, brilliant! They've not even made it.
Yeah, they've not even made it. It's a still, and not even that. It's not even of them. It's brilliant. It's obviously it's a visual thing. But look, this is his profile picture on IMDb. It's just Nick Ockerman, and he's in like one tiny bit of it. It's brilliant.
Oh dear, that is brilliant. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I've not really heard about them being massive celebrities in Australia, sadly. So I don't know. I don't know what's happened to them.
They go on and do a couple of things. They're
Home and Away and Neighbours.
Yeah, one of them goes into Home and Away. So
yeah, they did. When I was watching it, when I was looking to watch it, I was thinking, I wonder if I'll be able to find this, or am I going to have to try and... Is it going to be quite challenging to actually locate this film? It's from the 80s. It's not a hugely well-known film, but great news. As it's an Australian film, it was on every single streaming service available. I couldn't believe it. I swear, I've seen other films where they've been less available. This is literally was on everything. I was like, oh, this is actually going to be quite easy to watch, as it turns out.
It's the Citizen Kane of Australian movies.
Exactly, yeah. It was good watching the like the scenery as well, as you say, because I could see exactly where it was filmed and think,
really?
Okay, how's it changed? And so it was quite good to watch that. Yeah.
Yeah. Was there anything that dated the film for you then? In that vein, I presume it's just changes in geography.
Yeah. I mean, I guess obviously, nowadays it wouldn't be walkie talkies, would it? It'd be like, I don't know, not even mobile phones. It'd be like AI chips or something that you'd put on your head. A policeman directing traffic. Seems like they've probably got better things to be doing there nowadays. And then the other thing was one of the quotes was, "Don't move a muscle, Spartacus." And I thought, well, no one's going to know what that is anymore. No one's going to watch that film. So they were things I think that didn't age that well for me. But obviously on the plus side, I thought, well, the music, the sound effects, and the colours, it was very, very nostalgically 80s. So, how about you?
I mean, I don't think it's dated at all. In my mind, this is what Australia's still like. I presume that you're still using walkie-talkies. I was just going to say, does everyone still wear shorts that short? Because PJ shorts, my goodness, they're short.
Yeah, they do actually. That is, some people do wear shorts that short, which is crazy. I did think it was funny actually. The manager, when she's got the job at the shop at the start, he's wearing shorts, and I was like, wow, I wonder if people did used to be able to go to work wearing shorts, because definitely that doesn't happen now. And I'm like, maybe we should look to try and bring this back. I would happily wear shorts to work. I mean, it's a whole country. This should be available.
Well, it's also everyone still inexplicably British, because like so many of the characters are just British. Like the Yorkshire guy who runs the mall. Yeah. I was just like, what's he doing there? What's he all about?
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's not as many. Well, I guess there are still plenty of Brits here, but maybe a different type of Brit that's here now.
Not in positions of authority, like looking after the mall from people cycling through.
Yeah, doing more different things. That's probably not to this podcast, but
all bartenders. I thought all the British bartenders go to Australia, or the Australian bartenders come here.
Yeah, it's very true. I think that's definitely the case. I feel like I know more British people here, and I do more Australians there. So, it's a funny old one, but yeah.
How would you go for explaining it to the aliens then?
Yeah, okay. So I had sort of a few sort of thoughts and ideas on this, but in the sense of being a comedy caper, I thought I'd go with two bumbling goons are taken for a ride by 3 of the 5 Power Rangers on BMX bikes.
Nice.
Two of them were busy. So, I mean, I'm presuming they're going to know what Power Rangers are on BMX bikes. I've made that assumption.
Yeah. But super intelligent race made it there, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. We always presume that, you watch Power Rangers and there's always 5 of them everywhere. Sometimes there might have been an emergency and 2 of them were unwell, or, one of them's on holiday. So that could have happened.
Can't get
You've
time
only
off.
got 3 left. Exactly. So, or like the Goonies on bikes was the other sort of thought I sort of had. How about you? How would you describe it to the aliens?
In order to get a BMX track, the mighty BMX Bandits face off against bloodthirsty criminals with guns and win.
They're going to be a little bit disappointed, I think, after that description.
I want to instill a bit of fear in them that the BMX Bandits are just immortals that will be able to do
They'd be looking at the DVD cover thinking, really? This isn't what I'd be expecting from this. It looks very light-hearted and playful. How have we got to this? Yeah, that would definitely get them intrigued in the film, I think.
Yeah. And then a new section rather than life lesson. What question does the film ask or answer for you?
Well, yes, I had an interesting one on this. I thought, is new technology dangerous? Because at the beginning, they talk about walkie-talkies as if they've just come in. I mean, that's actually an interesting point as well. They start off and say, we've got this brand new technology just over from the US. And I'm like, oh, great. But then actually later in the film, it turns out everyone has a walkie-talkie on every construction site. I was like, I don't quite know how that has happened. But I was like, well, new technology comes into the hands of the kids, and then obviously it blows up there, causing havoc to the police, then they're getting chased by these robbers. And I was like, oh, is this, something similar that's happened to, with current technology, I'd say, when it was new, phones and the internet is actually that, a good thing that's happened to society. We've got everything accessible to our hands, so we can find out anything we want instantly. But has that actually worked out better for humanity? I'm not sure. So I was like, maybe there's a very poignant question that this film is asking.
And the man gets the technology first, and then it gets into the hands of the general public.
Yeah,
that's profound.
Yeah, there you go. Who knew this was had so many levels to this film?
I mean, me, because that's one of my favorite movies.
Well, I mean, we'll get to the positioning on this, Annie, because we need to have a chat about it. But what about you? What questions did the film ask or answer for you?
Just why was the 80s so epic? I think just leave it like that.
What a time!
What a time! Yeah. What a time to be alive!
I think that's one of the things why I love 80s. Like specifically, it's actually movies and songs, really, because generally they're always really upbeat songs, and the movies generally have a sort of more positive slant to it.
Yeah.
Whereas I think after the 80s, everything sort of comes a little bit more dire, and a little bit more morose.
Grungy.
I would say. Yeah. Okay. So what was the most fun genre that you think that you could change this film to? I struggled with this because it's already a pretty good film, as we've just said.
I mean, I just thought that if this was a game, I would play this game every day. If this was a platform game and you controlled the BMX Bandits, you had to get away, I'd be all over it. I can see in my little 8-bit screen, doing the pedals, like having to do ZX as we used to have to do for Daley Thompson decathlon as well.
Yes, what a game!
Maybe the space just to get a wheelie turn or something like that.
Yeah,
I'd be all over it. I'd play it nonstop.
Yeah, that would be good, and it fits perfectly because it's got the sound effects.
Yeah,
everything's set up. You can change different, select your player. You got your different coloured BMX Bandits. Yeah, that's a great idea. Actually, I didn't really think about it from that concept. That's a good thinking. I really struggled with this because I was like, it's basically Power Rangers, so I don't really know what else. I was like, maybe
bring the other two Power Rangers in.
Oh, yeah, maybe that's the thing, that the two goons that are wearing the masks. At the end of the day, he's actually the other two Power Rangers, and they all just have a big laugh at the end and go, "Oh, we nearly killed you! Wasn't that funny?"
Maybe this is the prequel, and then
the Power Rangers.
Yeah, and then they all join up, and then that's when they become the Power Rangers.
Yeah, that is very true. That could be how it happens.
There's
Yeah.
definitely a look that is a through line to the Power Rangers. They've yeah,
Oh,
100%.
yeah. I mean, the fact that they're all like they wear the specific colors, and the colors are very similar to the Power Ranger colors that are available. Yeah. So, all right then. So, I know you alluded to the fact that back in the day you were the blue BMX bandit, but which character now would you say you're most like or would like to be?
I mean, this is a difficult one for me. I definitely think I've outgrown being Goose, but
Yeah. Okay.
I'm definitely I'm no PJ. So I just
Yeah.
kind of left it
Okay.
at that.
In between. Yeah. Okay. In between those two. Yeah.
Were
I
you
was like, yeah.
one of the goons? Or they seem to be having a great time.
They do actually look like they enjoy it. I think they probably would have loved this film. Going well, because imagine if I mean, I was going to say like the others were kids, but actually, yeah, as you just said, PJ or he's 31.
PJ
Wasn't actually, yeah, it wasn't actually a kid. But the two goons, you're right. They probably really enjoyed filming this. Like, yeah, we just get to drive around a little bit. You know, we get to jump out of a car through the sunroof. We get to go down a flume. You know, in my suit and just act like I've never seen one before.
Yeah,
so you're right. It probably would have been a fun film to actually have filmed.
They're on the power boat, and he's like leaning into the wind and stuff, like a strange Spandau Ballet video is brilliant.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. No, I think it was. You're right. Actually, they probably have had a great time on this. There was some really good lines. I mean, I got some absolute crackers. So
you go first. Get the good ones out there.
My favorite one, and it just, I don't know if it just tickled me, and I rewound it a couple of times, then put subtitles on just to check that they actually said that. There's a point in the film where the kids obviously take the walkie-talkies, they take the box, they don't know what they are at that point. They take it out of the sea, and then the goons come down and they find out it's not there. They then chase them. For some reason, they know exactly where they've gone. So they go to the shipyard and they find out where they'd opened it, and it's just like the empty box with no walkie-talkies. And the goon's like really annoyed. He's like, "Oh God!" And he's like, "Oh, who?" And I was just like, did he just say that?
Yeah.
And I was like, in nowadays, you would never say it. Would be like proper swearing would have come out, but because this would have been a PG, I guess, and it was a kids' film, it's just like, "Oh, who?" And I just thought that was brilliant. That was really good line for me. And then there's a bit when the boss is talking about to the two goons or like the whole crew, and he said, "Oh yeah, well, you can thank these two prawns for that." And I was like, "Oh, great, that was a proper Aussie line there." So they were my two favourites. How about you?
I mean, I thought some of the flirting was great. I think when he says, "Do you read me?" and she said, "I might if you've got some interesting bits." I was like, "Oh, all right,
yeah."
It's nearly twice your age. But I thought that was thought that was a good line. Then after she's shown off her tricks, and she's flirting with PJ, and then Goose comes over with third wheel. It made me wonder. I wonder whether Justine and Guy got married now. Maybe they stayed school sweethearts.
Yeah, maybe.
And BMX Bandits was the thing that brought them together, and I was just the third wheel, but graciously stepped out. But anyway, and Nicole Kidman says 2's company, but 3 gets us talked about. And again, I was like, all right, calm down. This is a kids movie.
It's your mind, Andy. I wasn't thinking that.
It's just like what? And then I loved the police lady who was like, "Goose, PJ, Powder Puff. That's BMX talk." I was like, "Is it?
Yes.
Is that BMX talk?"
Yeah. There are some really funny bits in there. They are great lines, though. Yeah.
And then I'm not sure about the policewoman who's like chewing on the other policeman's ear. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why do they have some in workplace sexual harassment going on? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that serves for the plot. So that was a very strange decision. Maybe the actress just ad-libbed and did it just to see.
Yeah, they were all like, so I didn't leave it in. Yeah. Yeah, no, that was really weird, actually. Yeah, there were some really like funny things as well. In the 80s, did people really just go to the shops or go to a cafe and then they were just there and they were just drinking milk? Like, is that what you did?
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
well, nowadays, I guess you go to nowadays, I guess what you just go to McDonald's and get some horrifically terrible food for yourself and some orange juice, which is probably equally as bad. But in those days, you're like, yeah, I'll have some chips and some. What milk have you got? I'll have the low fat, thanks. Yeah.
It was just milk at the time. There wasn't choice. It's so funny that you should say that. I was in the office a couple of weeks ago, and someone asked whether it was weird just to have a glass of milk, and I was like, yeah, it's pretty weird. But then he just
jokes on you now, Andy. Yeah,
he's from the 80s.
Yeah, he was. He's clearly seen his film and knew, and he's like, "You wait until you see
just wait. What number is it? How many weeks until after it?"
Yeah, exactly.
Onto the reviews, and as we said last week, for those who haven't seen it, onto the 3-star reviews, because the 3-star reviews are definitely the best.
Yeah, I looked at these as well, and I specifically looked at the Australian reviews to get some good ones.
So, okay, what have you got? So from the UK 3-star reviews, let's all be honest. We watched this movie because we wanted to see how terrible of an actress Nicole Kidman was in the beginning of her career. But really, I wouldn't say her performance was that bad. Yeah. Really, you sat down to watch this just to see how bad Nicole Kidman was.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? Why would you say that?
Yeah, that's a bit strange. Yeah. Was more dated than I thought, but that was possibly lack of observation on my own part when I ordered it. But my son enjoys it anyway. Lack of observation, as in you hadn't realized that 37 years had gone past. I thought it came out a couple of years ago. That's on me. I should have actually realized it was 37 years ago now. And then it made me so want to go down a water slide with a bike. LOL.
Yeah, I saw that one. I was like, that's the best review ever. And I was like, should it be 3 or should that be 4? I don't know. I mean, going down a log flume with a bike, it's got to be up there with things to do, things to tick off on your bucket list.
Yeah. And then the part of one, the acting isn't the best and the BMX stunts could be better, in brackets. A recent cycling magazine thought it was one of the worst cycling films made. I wouldn't go as far to say that.
Yeah. Brilliant. I think I read that one as well. I think generally the reviews that I saw, I mean, in this new era of 3 stars, and maybe this is the place that we should occupy in, where you just got the nice reviews. We're not going too like over the top, and we're not like completely trolling Amazon. And it's just generally people were just saying, "Oh yeah, just really like this film. Like, yeah, it's an 80s film. Yeah, it's dated. Yeah, but there's a bit of nostalgia for me." Or, you know, I've just put it on and my kids just really liked it because, it's just a really nice, like, sort of easy watching, kids film. I was going to ask you, because I haven't seen the Spy Kids films. And I think you had.
We've watched them all. We just watched the new one this weekend as well. Yeah, but pretty similar.
How does it compare to them? Yeah, do you think it's still obviously the graphics and it's a little bit different in terms of how it would look from the Oh no, okay.
Some of the Spy Kids. No, it's very similar. Where like the bad guys are like bad to begin with, but then actually it's kind of it's sort of non-threatening or like it's sort of over the top, so it becomes a bit cartoony. And stuff like that. So I would say it's pretty similar. I mean, I'm not sure that my daughter would find it particularly interesting.
I think we need to test this. I think you need to rewatch it with Poppy.
She did say, should we watch it at the weekend? And I was like, no, I've got to do the first half of the pod before we watch it. I've got to go in the shop.
Look at that. Your daughter sitting there crying, just wanted to spend some time with you watching a film, and you're like, no, I've got the podcast to do. Don't be silly.
Well, you know what, we got 10 minutes into Hocus Pocus and then had to turn it off because it was both boring and scary. So
the new one or the old one?
No, the classic. I mean, the original.
The classic. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it is a bit scary. isn't it? Actually,
It's
I've not
also,
seen the new one.
I kind of agreed with it because I do, as I kind of started to remember, it is basically just talking about them being virgins for 2 hours, and that is why they're making fun of them.
Okay.
So then I was a bit like, you know what, if you're not enjoying this, maybe we just turn it off. So
yeah, you're like, turns out maybe this isn't appropriate. Yeah. It's funny how I don't remember, and it's weird actually when you rewatch films like that, and you just, I guess you come from an innocence when you're younger, and you don't necessarily see these things, and then you watch it as you're older, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, maybe, maybe we shouldn't be watching this.
Yeah. We'll have the. I mean, it always happens. You sit down with your parents to watch a movie, and then all of a sudden there's a sex scene that you just don't remember being in the movie at all.
Yeah.
You're like, oh no, oh what? Do you think it'd do better or worse if it came out today? I mean, I'm just going to go on the record and say I think it would do better, and I think they should bring it out today in the cinema, and we should start a petition.
Yeah, well, that was one thing I was trying to think with like genre, because I thought, well, you could make it sort of sci-fi, and it could be like they, I don't know, we're all on like a new planet or something like that, and instead of BMX bikes they've got like spaceships or something like that, and they just run around space. But yeah, I mean, I guess you could, it's very light-hearted, right? And I think it fits into that sort of, as I said, that sort of spy kid genre. So yeah, I think it could probably come out now. I don't know if people would resonate with the BMXing piece, but
and it's a bit of retro. I mean, the director said that it was the fifth largest opening in fifth largest movie in the UK in 1983, which I think is
wow.
I'm not sure that that's true, because you look at some of the other films that came out in 1983. I'm really not sure whether that's true. But so I think
he just meant in Australia.
No, he said specifically in the UK, because I think it was like targeted at the UK audience. So I think it's a bit of fun. It's very colourful. They don't make movies like this anymore. So no.
I think it's, as I said, there is a specific space for these type of films, like I said, that sort of spy kid type genre. And I think I honestly think you should rewatch it with Poppy. I'd be keen to see, and maybe Poppy can do a little small review at the end to add to this podcast.
We'll just bring it down to the shop, and she can sit down the back with a can of Coke while we're busy at work.
Yeah, talking about it. She's got to have a carton of milk. Come on.
So Letterboxd goes with Goonies. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Clearly.
Then Baby Driver, Tango and Cash, Beverly Hills Cop.
I mean, Beverly Hills Cop, it is a bit of a comedy caper, so yeah, I can get that, but it's an adult version one. It's not a kids one.
Tango and Cash, very comedy caper.
I do, that may be on my list. Who needs to say that? I mean, we got Kurt Russell. Yeah, it's brilliant.
The poor man's
no. So what was the first one you said?
Baby Driver was after Goonies, wasn't it?
Whoa, not Baby Driver.
I mean, basically, it's a lot of car chase. I'm surprised that Drive wasn't in there as well. It's basically chases, car chases, and that's it.
Yeah. I don't know about that, but I guess it does sort of fit into that scenario that they said. It's the adult. Tango and Cash is the adult version of this film. Or Beverly Hills Cop, both of which are great films in my mind. Yeah. So we come to the big question on everyone's lips, then, Andy, and I'm going to be disappointed, as I believe the rest of the audience will be, if this doesn't come out correctly. But okay, so would it still be on your top 100, and would it move further down the list, closer to number one, or up the list, close to 100?
That's true. We still need to sort this out. It's literally top of the pops. Surely that means, like, to be top of the pops, you need to be at the top.
No? I've listened to clips of Top of the Pops. I don't think it will work on this, so I will try to work out a way where I can get it played and I will add it to this podcast where they specifically say, "Oh, up 4 places now at number 21 is whoever it might be." So yeah, they say moving up is getting you closer to number 1.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. No,
Yeah.
so you just said the opposite. Now
But
he's confused. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now you've
Moving
lost
up.
me. Yeah. Up 4 places to number 1. Yeah, that's
Top-
what we're saying, right?
top-
Moving up
Top of the pops.
moving up the list. Moving down the list. Oh, no. Have I been capered with my own I'm gonna have to re-listen to this. Yeah, it's all right. I'll edit this one and I'll just make sure all of this gets taken out. So, okay, so come on then. Where is it gonna go in the list? That's what everyone wants to hear.
So obviously it's in the list because it's the first film that I ever remember. It can fall down into the 90s a couple of places. Nice. I was actually thinking maybe it could just split up Looking for Eric and Once, so that when we do the rewatch of the top 100 in like season 4 when we're like 60, then you don't have to watch Looking for Eric and Once back to back anymore. You've got BMX Bandits to look forward to.
I think we need to rework on what's happening in season 4 because I don't think I can do that. So you would you're going to say that this slips out of the 80s down into the 90s?
Yeah, I think a few places back, because there were like three films in the 90s that I moved down, including The Artist. So I think this could be like, I think 89. It could be where the Artist kind of comes into.
Is this, you're saying this is worse than The Artist? Do you really need to think about this before you say that?
Yeah. Wow. The Artist was good. We agreed on that, didn't we?
I know. No, I did like The Artist, but I did
think
this is
the opposite.
A good film as well.
The opposite of The Artist as far as color and like sound effects and stuff like that is concerned.
Very true.
This is like, I think almost as a double feature, I would suggest watching The Artist and then BMX Bandits. It's a bit like when everything's been very monotone and then you suddenly get lots of color. I think if you went from The Artist to BMX Bandits, that would be BMX Bandits would seem even brighter.
Yeah, and, it would be like a sensory overload.
Yeah,
it would be great.
It'd be brilliant.
Yeah,
we should have that. Like what film you should have as a double feature, and that's the one that would be good.
I mean, also double feature. Tango and Cash or Beverly Hills Cop have been all two great films to watch alongside this.
I was thinking from the 3-star review, what other cycling movies are there? What other cycling films?
You put me on the spot now. Actual cycling movies.
Yeah, so there's Triplets Belvedere, which is a cartoon, which is a French cartoon. That's not cycling. It's a bike. I don't remember him being on a push bike.
Well, I don't know. Did they specify? Is it actually specifically push bikes?
I mean,
is it? Yeah, there must be a Lance Armstrong film.
I thought you meant Tron. I thought you were like, what did they specify? Maybe he was just pedaling very quickly.
Yeah. He's so quick you can't even see him pedaling. I don't know. We'll have to have a think about that.
What other films? Yeah, what other films have cycling in them? Because this is one of the worst, and you're just like, what do you mean? There's not many. Take every film you can get, because there's not that many films that have cycling in.
No, I don't know. What? I don't know. We'll have to review that and come back. That will be in season 7. The top cycling movies of all time.
Yeah, we won't be able to speak by that stage because we'll be so old. But it will be.
It will be AI voices by then. We won't have to worry about it. The pod will just continue to keep going by itself. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, that's good to hear that it's still on the list, I guess. But maybe a small tear in my eye to hear that it's falling further down into the 90s. But yeah, it was an enjoyable comedy caper. I loved it. It was nice.
Yeah. Well, and from one comedy caper kind of to another for next week. a comedy caper of a very, very different kind. But maybe similar in other ways. So yeah, look forward to talking about that. Thanks to Tom Evans for the theme song. We're going to put the sign on long play video to closed and sit down and just bask in our memories of the 80s. So
yeah,
see you later.